Arknights has undoubtedly one of the most amazing worlds and stories in gacha games. Yet, more often than not, I cannot stand to go through with them, as the amazing world building, emotional character beats, and insane hype moments are overshadowed by walls of exposition and terrible pacing. And this sucks, because I love the world and lore of Arknights for a multitude of reasons. Only a few other gacha games have the same level of deep and layered world building like Arknights. The entire world of Terra feels alive and constantly moving even without the interference of Rhodes Island and the Doctor directly. The world is full of thought out politics, nations, factions and conflicts, from the simplest workers' disputes all the way to geopolitical shifts. Arknights also puts a big emphasis on its different operators and their own complex struggles. All of them are dealing with something, whether it be the effects of ripathy or more personal feelings of worthiness and their life goals. This makes it easy to connect with them, and more often than not, they don't exist in a vacuum, as many operators have relationships or past with others. The focus on its operators also helps with the different themes Arknights explores. One of the main themes in the entire game is the transition between generations, as many stories are about younger people taking up the mantle of the older ones. Think of characters like Lin or even Chen, who are staples of this new generation. Other themes include things like social issues, discrimination, and trauma. Without a solid layer of world building and strong characters, this would never work as well as it does. And because it all works so well together, there's barely any event that I would class as filler. Even the most unimportant story in the grand scheme of things, like let's say Pinus Sylvestris, has a huge connection to other events like Near Light and An Obscure Wanderer. This way, Arknights constantly creates new story arcs with multiple events combined. In the most recent patch on the global server, Hypergriff even added these events together in a new layout for both ease of navigation and just to see what kind of fun storylines they've made up along the way. Also, Arknights just knows how to do presentation. Even when limited to just a visual novel style of storytelling, it does this by superb use of things like artworks in between talking heads, musical beats to add to the vibe, and narrative beats that land so well when they do. But all of these amazing, researched and unique things in Arknights' way of storytelling are buried under the many things that stop me from fully enjoying it. Because Arknights is bound to a more visual novel style of storytelling, it also heavily relies on it for exposition and scene building. This more often than not means that cutscenes in between stages are extremely lengthy. Sometimes even going to around 10 minutes with so much exposition and tell don't show that we just get fed info dumps instead of cinematic delivery. The cutscenes are often, in addition to being extremely long, filled to the brim with jargon and politics which require both your full attention and some kind of knowledge from previous events and the general world of Arknights. All of this exposition means that the pacing can be extremely inconsistent and make emotional and plot highs be buried underneath dialogue fatigue. This lack of consistent pacing is even further emphasized in more recent and longer story-focused events, which will often fade to black 3 or 4 times before finally letting us play the actual game. It also means that each event can, for some players at least, be a daunting moment if they do want to experience the story, as it often feels like needing to read a novella instead of having some fun seasonal stuff to do for a week or 3. And if you fall behind, you have hundreds of lines of exposition and dialogue to catch up on, causing immense fatigue. This is especially intimidating for new players who might have hopped over from games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, or Wuthering Waves, where they're more used to visuals and voiced cutscenes to carry the story. All of this risks severe burnout in players when it comes to the amazing writing and story. It demands your time and focus for minutes on end, just to get to a quick 2-minute combat stage, after which you gotta do it all over again. Which, in my opinion, is a huge disconnect between both gameplay and story. Because more often than not, it feels like you're playing a visual novel instead of, you know, playing an actual video game, which is what you're supposed to be doing on your phone, at least if you game on your phone. You get what I mean. It really does not surprise me that many people who just want the fun tower defense gameplay, that they skip the story, which also causes a rift in the player base when it comes to what the game is actually about. Unfortunately, this also means that players who aren't super deep into the fanbase can accidentally skip very profound and important events and storylines that really further the plot. Think of cutscene-only events like Vigilo, or the often wackier summer events. Meanwhile, some fan-favorite characters like Sophia or Tomimi have barely any story presence, often in favor of NPCs used for exposition or storylines where they possibly cannot fit in without just being a mere mention or cameo. Personally, I adore and love the world of Arknights, but for the past few months I found it very difficult to actually enjoy the game and its slew of new events. I usually just end up skipping the story and just grinding the stages, promising myself that I'll read them eventually, which of course never happens. This is after like 3 or 2 years of reading every single event from top to bottom and finding myself getting fatigued by the exposition and the length, of course. Because, oh my god, getting bamboozled by a fade to black 3 times in a row is so disheartening to even continue wanting to read the event. I even found myself replaying older events like Code of Brawl, as the story was short and sweet. But for example, I skipped Lapland Alt's event as I just could not find the mental strength to actually read it, which is a shame because I do like Lapland a lot as a character. I really want to love every single event in Arknights, as I know that the writing and the world building is absolutely brilliant. But the brilliance is also its curse, as it spends way too much time with its setup and not enough time with the actual gameplay. This unmatched way of writing and playing risks burning players out. Am I burnt out? Honestly, I very well could be at this point. At least integrated strategies gives me the freedom to just enjoy this silly tower defense game. But what about you? Do you power through every event, or have you started skipping the story and possibly missing out on some of the fun? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, as I post regular deep dives and reviews into the games I love.